Chapter 686. Kinfei Ryu showed off his ability in battle, but he was still very easygoing. Moreover, when he was on Rainbow Island, he could have taken the opportunity to escape, but he turned back to help Lu Ming and the others deal with the Frostblade Spirit Master. His character was not bad, and Lu Ming had a good impression of him. Xian Yanqing stood to the side and did not speak. Lu Ming and Kinfei Ryu chatted for a while, and then Kinfei Ryu said goodbye. Brother Lu, Miss Xia, it's not good to stay on Golden Sand Island for long. If the Frostblade Spirit Master recovers, he will definitely not let you go. I plan to leave Golden Sand Island. What about you? Kinfei Ryu said. Yes, us too. Lu Ming nodded. Good, we'll meet again if fate wills it. Kinfei Ryu cupped his fists and disappeared. Let's go. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other and also left. The news of this battle was bound to spread, and it would spread further and further. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did plan to leave Golden Sand Island. During this period, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had gained a lot, and they needed to find a quiet place to digest it. Xian Yanqing's destruction concept and wind concept were about to merge successfully. She needed to find a place to go into seclusion and break through in one go. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had not properly studied the suppressing prison heaven skill he had obtained from the suppressing prison steel. Also, the seven-colored spiritual master's spirit fire was constantly being refined. He also needed to go into seclusion for a while to digest it. The two flew to the west of Golden Sand Island. Soon, they crossed the entire island and arrived at the western coast. Lu Ming's hand moved, and a map appeared in his hand. This was the map of the chaotic astral ocean he had bought in Jinsha Island. There was a sea on it, and there were countless stars in the sea. Those were all islands. Jinsha Island was relatively close to the east. After watching for a while, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing soared into the sky and flew towards the west. They planned to find an uninhabited island and go into seclusion for a period of time. After Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, Kinfei Ryu appeared on another beach. With a wave of his hand, a metal box appeared in his hand. Inscriptions flowed on the surface of the metal box, sealing it. This is something I obtained from the palace on the seven-colored island. It has the words Martial Monarch's Treasure Key on it. Martial Monarch's Treasure. I wonder if it's real? Jian Filiu said in a low voice as a blazing light flashed in his eyes. The words Martial Emperor's Treasure were too attractive. It doesn't matter if it's real or fake. Since it was collected by the seven-colored Taoist, it must be extraordinary. Unfortunately, there is an inscription formation seal on it. It looks like I'll have to spend some time to open this seal. After saying that, Kinfei Ryu put away the metal box and flew towards the sea, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were extremely fast. After flying for 2 days, they finally found a deserted island. The deserted island was not big, with a radius of less than 100 miles. No one lived on it. The two landed on the deserted island and sorted out the things they had obtained from the seven-colored island. This time they had obtained a lot of things. There were supreme-grade spiritual crystals, cultivation techniques, martial skills, and even ultimacy crystals. Especially spiritual herbs, which were the most abundant. The two of them split the loot equally. Then they each found a place and began their seclusion. Dandan, take advantage of this period of time to inscribe level 4 and above inscriptions. Also, give me some inscription formations. I'll study them when I have time. In Dandan's mind, there were countless inscriptions and inscription formations. Naturally, he had to make good use of them. Exchange them with spiritual herbs. Dandan took the opportunity to ask for spiritual herbs. Take them. Lu Ming took out a level 5 spiritual herb and threw it to Dandan. On the seven-colored island, Lu Ming had obtained a lot of spiritual herbs and was very rich. Dandan took the elixir and ran off to inscribe the inscriptions on it. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness, 10 green spirit lamps burned fiercely. That's right. In the past few days, Lu Ming had ignited 10 green spirit lamps and reached the perfect stage of a level 4 inscription master. Next, he would be breaking through to the level 5 inscription master. The level 5 inscription master was a hurdle. Once crossed, there would be a qualitative change. A true inscription master would have terrifying combat strength. Lu Ming used the underworld god observation method, and the flowing geocentric flame in his sea of consciousness burned fiercely, constantly refining the seven-colored Taoist spirit flames. The seven-colored Taoist spirit flames had already shrunk, but there was still a lot left. In the future, Lu Ming's spirit flames would still advance by leaps and bounds. Hu strands of spirit flames floated down and merged with Lu Ming's own spirit flames. His spirit flames continued to grow. 3 hours later, the 10 green spirit lamps suddenly extinguished. Then, a wisp of green flame slowly appeared on the first spirit lamp. Green spirit flames, a level 5 inscription master. Boom. The moment the green flame appeared, Lu Ming's mind shook and a loud rumbling sound rang out. Wang. At this moment, 5 rings of light suddenly appeared above Lu Ming's head. 5 rings of light with 5 different colors. At the bottom was a crimson ring of light. On the ring of light, there were 10 points that were evenly distributed. They emitted resplendent light like stars. From bottom to top, the second halo was orange, and also had 10 points. It was incomparably resplendent. The third halo was yellow and also had 10 points. The fourth halo was green and also had 10 points. Only the fifth ring was different. It was green, but there was only 1 dot on it. Spirit ring. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. As long as an inscription master reached level 5, a spirit ring would appear. Each color of the spirit ring represented a corresponding level. For example, the ring at the bottom represented a level 1 inscription master. The 10 dots on it represented the number of spirit lamps that had been lit. Lu Ming's first 4 levels all had 10 spirit lamps lit, so there were 10 dots. If a level only had 5 spirit lamps lit, then there would only be 5 dots. The spirit ring could clearly display an inscription master's cultivation situation. With a thought, Lin Yun put away the spirit ring. Then, Lu Ming's consciousness sank into the green spirit flames. Boom. In an instant, Lu Ming's spirit flames extended out and flew out of his body, floating between heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire world in his eyes was filled with a myriad of colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Lu Ming could clearly sense the various colors, attributes, and energies of heaven and earth. What a wonderful feeling! Lu Ming was extremely curious. His spirit flames continued to extend out, but the further it went, the weaker the energy Lu Ming felt. Let's test the power of the inscription array. Returning to his senses, Lu Ming stood up. Stomp. Stomp. He took several steps on the ground and inscriptions appeared on the ground. These inscriptions intersected and formed an inscription array. Bang! As Lu Ming took the last step, a battle sword flew out from the array and slashed at a mound. Bang! The mound was directly split into 2. As expected, an inscription array can carry the power of heaven and earth and unleash a powerful attack. Is this the power of a level 5 inscription master? It's indeed wonderful. Chapter 687. Right now, he had just stepped into the 5th level, and had only ignited 1 spirit lamp. Later on, when he ignited more spirit lamps and mastered more powerful inscription formations, his attack power would be even stronger. The formation that Lu Ming had just inscribed was only a 3rd level formation, so its attack power was limited. An inscription master's combat power was related to the strength of their spirit flames, but it also had a lot to do with the inscription formations they mastered. The stronger the spirit flames, the more power of heaven and earth they could control. The stronger the inscription formation, the more terrifying its power would be. The 7-colored spiritual master's spirit flames have some experience, and even the art of alchemy and formations. However, it's too messy now. I'll sort it out after refining all of his spirit flames. Now all I have to do is wait for Dandan to inscribe inscriptions and formations. Before that, I'll put aside the art of inscription for now. Anyway, the flowing geocentric flame was constantly refining the 7-colored spiritual master's spirit flames. His spirit flames were constantly growing stronger, so he could ignore it for now. Suppressing steel. Lu Ming planned to study the suppressing steel and suppressing hell heaven skill for his 2nd bloodline. With a thought, the suppressing steel appeared. Suppressing steel, what is it suppressing? The 9 Serenities Hell? Lu Ming smiled faintly. The clouds in front of the suppressing steel had already dispersed, but the rest of the steel was still shrouded in clouds and looked very mysterious. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly realized that he could feel an extremely heavy intent lingering in his heart. It was incomparably clear. This is the earth. Yes, this is the power of the earth. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He stepped on the earth, and slowly, he seemed to have become one with the earth. The power of the earth. Yes, this is the power of the earth. This suppressing steel is really amazing. It can actually let me feel the power of the earth so clearly. Lu Ming knew very well that this was all because of the suppressing steel. In the past, when he stepped on the earth, he didn't have this feeling, but now he did. It seemed that the suppressing steel was very compatible with the earth. Lu Ming had a feeling that if he wanted to comprehend the power of the earth now, he could quickly comprehend it and master it. Should I comprehend it? Lu Ming hesitated. Once he comprehended the force of the earth, the number of forces he could control, and even the concepts of heaven and earth, would increase to 4. His cultivation speed would definitely slow down. And the more concepts one comprehended, the greater the repulsive force would be, and the more difficult it would be to cultivate. Lu Ming had to consider it. Let's take a look at the suppressing hell-heaven skill first, then think about it. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. In his mind, information regarding the hell-suppressing heaven art appeared. During this period of time, he hadn't had the chance to properly study the hell-suppressing heaven skill. Immediately, all the information related to the suppressing hell-heaven skill echoed in Lu Ming's mind. After more than an hour, Lu Ming opened his eyes. What a wonderful martial skill! Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. There was no doubt that the hell-suppressing heaven art was a bloodline martial skill, but it was very different from other bloodline martial skills. First of all, the hell-suppressing heaven art didn't have any fixed moves. It was more like a combat skill. After successfully cultivating it, one could borrow the power of the bloodline. Every punch, palm, or even kick would contain the power of the hell-suppressing steel. And its power would be extremely terrifying. Even if one cultivated it to the highest level, it wouldn't be limited to the hands and feet. Every part of the body could be used to fight. The back, shoulders, and so on could contain the power of the hell-suppressing steel and unleash terrifying attacks, turning them into killing weapons. Also, the hell-suppressing heaven art didn't have a specific grade. It had a lot to do with the power of the bloodline. The stronger the power of the bloodline, the stronger the power of the hell-suppressing steel. If one awakened a 9th grade king-class bloodline, then the power of the hell-suppressing heaven art could barely reach the first level of a demigod-class martial skill. If one awakened a 1st grade god-class bloodline, then the power of the hell-suppressing heaven art could even reach the 6th level of a demigod-class martial skill. Demigod class. Lu Ming's eyes emitted a bright light. Other people could only awaken a fixed bloodline grade, but Lu Ming could continuously upgrade it. This martial skill was simply too suitable for Lu Ming. However, there was a requirement for the hell-suppressing heaven art, and that was to use the earth concept as the core in order to display its strongest power. This was because the earth concept was the most compatible with the hell-suppressing steel. It seems like I still need to comprehend the earth concept, Lu Ming's mouth curved into a bitter smile. However, Lu Ming quickly made a decision. Comprehend it. Comprehending the power of the earth and the concept of the earth would greatly increase his battle prowess. Moreover, if he could integrate the concept of the earth into the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god in the future, the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god would transform into a low-grade demigod martial skill. It could be said to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming carefully went through the contents of the hell-suppressing heaven art in his mind. Then, the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline appeared. Lu Ming planned to start comprehending the earth concept. When the earth concept had reached a certain level, he would combine it with the earth concept and cultivate the hell-suppressing heaven art together. Taking out the Enlightenment ancient tree and placing it beside him, Lu Ming's mind became incomparably clear. He seemed to have become one with the earth under his feet. He seemed to see this small island extending all the way down to the bottom of the sea, merging with the endless earth. A heavy, grand, vast, and vicissitude feeling rippled in Lu Ming's heart. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming's body also emitted a heavy, grand, vast, and vicissitude feeling. Earth concept, elementary level. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. He suddenly stood up and struck out with his palm. Boom. This palm seemed to be incomparably heavy and heavy, as if it could crush space. After an explosion, Lu Ming stopped. He frowned and muttered, "No again." At this moment he was cultivating the hell-suppressing heaven art. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming alternated between using his palm, fist and finger, constantly striking the air. In this way, Lu Ming cultivated continuously for 3 days. 3 days later, every time he struck out with his palm, it was as if there was a huge mountain in his palm, causing the air to rumble and explode. After cultivating for another 10 minutes, Lu Ming let out a long breath. After 3 days of cultivation, the hell-suppressing heaven art could be considered as elementary level. However, Lu Ming could only use it with his hands now. If he wanted to use it with his feet, there was still a long way to go. As for being able to use it with his whole body, the distance was even greater. In these few days, Lu Ming did not continue to comprehend the earth concept. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that the earth force's maturity was still low to merge it with the other 3 intents. Otherwise, when the earth force's maturity was high, it would be even more difficult to merge them. The more mature it was, the stronger the repulsive force. Let's go and see how Shaoqing's cultivation is going. Lu Ming walked to the other side of the island. Xian Yanqing was cultivating on the other side of the island. Chapter 688. Little Qing, did you encounter a problem in your cultivation? Lu Ming walked over and stood side by side with Xian Yanqing. The sea breeze blew, blowing Xian Yanqing's skirt and black hair. At this moment, Xian Yanqing was like a goddess descending to the mortal world. I don't know why. The destruction intent realm and wind intent realm are always a little lacking and difficult to merge. Xian Yanqing said. Could it be that the destruction intent realm is too strong, so the repulsive force is stronger? Lu Ming guessed. That's right. Xian Yanqing nodded. Sure enough, it was the same as Lu Ming's guess. The destruction intent realm was an extremely powerful and terrifying intent realm that could destroy everything. It was even stronger than the star intent realm of the sacred stars. As for the wind intent realm, it was one of the 9 common intents. Compared to the destruction intent realm, there was still a gap. Therefore, it was even more difficult to merge them. It was like a poor person wanting to be friends with a rich person. It was very difficult. However, it was much easier for 2 poor people or 2 rich people to be friends. The destruction intent realm was equivalent to the rich person, and the wind intent realm was equivalent to the poor person. To put it more accurately, the destruction intent realm disdained to merge with the wind intent realm. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and then said, Little Qing, try comprehending it with this. With a wave of his hand, the enlightenment ancient tree appeared on the ground. Xian Yanqing was stunned at first. Then she sensed it and her expression changed drastically. As she sensed it carefully, her expression became more and more interesting. Is this the legendary enlightenment ancient tree? Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Her voice was trembling, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Yes, I was lucky to get a withered branch of the enlightenment ancient tree. I didn't expect it to really sprout. Lu Ming smiled slightly. You showed me such a valuable thing. Aren't you afraid that I'll have evil thoughts and take it away? Xian Yanqing blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Do you know how to do it? Poochie. Xian Yanqing laughed out loud. At this moment, her smile was incomparably brilliant and incomparably happy. Her beautiful eyes blinked as she stared at Lu Ming, as if she wanted to engrave him in her heart. How is it? Are you very touched? Don't tell me you want to give yourself to me? I'm not ready yet. Lu Ming said with a smile. Promise my ass. Humph, lend me this enlightenment ancient tree for 2 days. Xian Yanqing curled her lips. Then her eyes flashed and she said, Since you're so sincere, I'll reward you. After saying that, Xian Yanqing suddenly stood on her tiptoes and kissed Lu Ming's face. Then with a red face, she hugged the enlightenment ancient tree pill furnace and ran off to cultivate. Hee hee. Lu Ming touched the place where Xian Yanqing had kissed him and giggled. Boy, why are you here? I've been looking for you for a long time. Dandan's voice sounded. It ran wildly in the air with its short legs and flew towards Lu Ming. Have you finished carving inscriptions and inscription formations? Lu Ming looked at Dandan. I'm done. I'm exhausted. But let me tell you, my cultivation is limited now. I can only carve level 5 inscriptions, and some level 5 inscription formations. I can't carve more inscriptions than that. You need to wait for me to recover a little more. Dandan spat out more than a dozen jade plates from its mouth and handed them to Lu Ming. Only level 5 inscriptions? Lu Ming whispered. Boy, let me tell you, don't underestimate my inscriptions and inscription formations. Who am I? I have mastered a lot of inscriptions and inscription formations that you don't have here. They are very rare and powerful. Many of them are not worse than level 6 formations. With your mental strength, the power they exert is definitely not weaker than ordinary level 6 formations. Dandan explained proudly. Oh, since you've worked so hard, these spiritual herbs are your reward. Lu Ming took out some level 5 spiritual herbs and threw them to Dandan. Dandan gritted its teeth. With its status, it didn't need others to reward it. It was always the one who rewarded others. Now Lu Ming, a young boy, actually took out a few level 5 spiritual herbs and said they were for it. This made Dandan's turtle shell rise and fall. What? Don't want it? Forget it, Lu Ming said. Yes, of course. Dandan hurriedly put away the elixir and warned herself in her heart that she had no choice but to lower her head when she was under the eaves. Then it ran away happily. Lu Ming took out the jade token that Dandan gave him and looked at it. Some were level 4 and level 5 inscriptions, and some were all kinds of inscription formations. After Lu Ming looked at it, he began to comprehend it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Xian Yanqing returned the Enlightenment Ancient Tree to Lu Ming. How is it? Did you gain anything? Lu Ming asked. I gained something. Come, let's fight. I need a strong pressure, Xian Yanqing said. That's exactly what I want. I want to fight with you. Lu Ming smiled, and the momentum of the earth spread out from his body. He also wanted to fight with Xian Yanqing and integrate the momentum of the earth with the other 3 intents. Xian Yanqing's beautiful eyes suddenly widened and exclaimed, Momentum of the earth. You actually comprehended the momentum of the earth? Yes, I can't help it. Lu Ming sighed softly. What a monster, Xian Yanqing muttered. Lu Ming was speechless. Boom, boom. After a while, there was a deafening roar on the island. Above the island, 2 figures were constantly bombarding each other, and the sky was constantly shaking. After a few hundred moves, the 2 stopped and comprehended their intents. Just like that, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Every day, the 2 would spend some time fighting to promote the integration of intents. During the rest of the time, Lu Ming would cultivate the hell-suppressing heaven skill, comprehend and cultivate various inscriptions, and fight with inscriptions. Lu Ming's gains were huge, and he was improving every day. He could easily inscribe the inscriptions and inscription formations that Dandan gave him. As for the hell-suppressing heaven skill, Lu Ming had cultivated it to his feet. Lu Ming's every punch, every palm, and every kick seemed to contain a prison-suppressing monument, suppressing everything. However, using the hell-suppressing heaven skill consumed too much Zhenyuan. Lu Ming's Zhenyuan was much more vigorous than other martial artists in the same realm, but it still consumed a lot of Zhenyuan, and he couldn't support too many moves. He wouldn't be able to use more than half of his Zhenyuan after a few moves. It should be known that even Sea of Soul Realm experts didn't have many low-grade demigod martial skills. Many low-grade Sea of Soul Realm experts cultivated high-grade heaven-grade martial skills. Some rogue cultivators, who were a bit shabby, still cultivated low-grade heaven-grade martial skills. Generally, only high-grade Sea of Soul Realm experts could bring out the full power of low-grade demigod martial skills. Hell-suppressing heaven skill can be my trump card. I should use it as little as possible. Lu Ming pondered. As for the integration of Aura of Earth with the other 3 intents, his progress was also very fast, and he was just a little bit away. After all, Lu Ming had the previous 2 experiences, and the current aura of Earth was still very weak, so the integration was a bit faster. As for Xian Yinqing, after such a long time of cultivation, he finally succeeded in integrating destruction intent and wind intent in one go. This caused Xian Yinqing's battle strength to increase crazily. The might of the integration of destruction intent and wind intent shocked even Lu Ming. Chapter 689. Lu Ming, the last key to the martial emperor's treasure has finally appeared. Xian Yinqing flew over, holding a small jade sword in his hand. Lu Ming's hand moved, and a jade sword appeared. At this moment, the 9 lines on the sword hilt all lit up, flashing with a dazzling light. Lu Ming was also somewhat excited. The 9 keys had finally appeared, which meant that the martial emperor's treasure was about to be opened. Let's inject our true qi and see if there are any changes, Lu Ming said. Xian Yinqing nodded, and together with Lu Ming, injected their true qi into the jade sword. The jade sword trembled slightly, and then a map appeared in the air. There are changes. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The map began to change, and slowly, the dot became bigger. Lu Ming and the others realized that the map of the chaotic astral ocean was getting bigger and bigger in front of their eyes. On the map, there was still a dot pointing to a place. As the map changed, the other areas on the side disappeared, leaving only the chaotic astral ocean on the map. That dot pointed to a sea area in the north of the chaotic astral ocean. Their eyes lit up. Obviously, that was the location of the martial emperor's treasure. Everyone, can you hear me? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the 2 jade swords. This voice was rough, like the voice of a middle-aged man. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were shocked. How could there be a voice? Could it be the spirit of the jade swords, or the voice that was sealed inside the jade swords when they were refined? But at this moment, another voice came out. Who are you? The voice seemed to be a young man. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing looked at each other. It didn't seem to be what they thought. Everyone, you should have all obtained the keys to the martial emperor's treasure. I am one of you. The rough voice began to speak again. What a mysterious formation. It can actually transmit messages to each other. It seems like the 9 keys already have an owner. At that moment, an aged voice was heard. It seemed to be a very old O. That's right. The 9 jade swords can communicate with each other. Where are you now? Now that we know where the treasure trove is, it's time for us to open it. The rough voice said again. I arrived at the chaotic astral ocean a long time ago. Old O's voice sounded. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. The young voice sounded. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. At this moment, another voice rang out. It was a new voice and it sounded very young. Upon hearing this figure, Xian Yinqing and Lu Ming's expressions changed slightly, because they were quite familiar with this voice. Qinfei Ryu. That's right. It was Qinfei Ryu's voice. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he channeled his true yuan into the sword. King of Hell. The voice from the jade sword went silent. After a while a voice could be heard. Shura? It sounded very surprised. That's right. Lu Ming said. This time they were sure that the other party was really Qinfei Ryu. They didn't call each other's real names. The martial emperor's treasure was of great importance. Now they couldn't leak the information. It seems that some of you know each other. What a coincidence. Is there anyone else here? I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. Where are the others? The rough voice rang out. Then there was silence. After a while, another voice rang out. I'm in the chaotic astral ocean. Me too. 2 new voices rang out in succession. In this way, there were a total of 7 voices. Xian Yinqing didn't speak. Except for Xian Yinqing, there was only one person left. Everyone, I'm on my way to the chaotic astral ocean. It will take me half a month. Why don't you wait for me at the treasure trove? At this moment, a clear voice rang out. It was a woman's voice. It sounded very young and somewhat timid. Half a month? Okay, we'll wait for you there first. The rough voice rang out. Wait a minute, let's discuss this first. The martial emperor's treasure is of great importance. Whether it's true or not, we can't leak it out. You didn't leak it out, did you? Old O's voice rang out. No, How could I tell others about the martial emperor's treasure? Only me. The others spoke one after another. That's good. We'll meet at the treasure trove. Oldo's voice rang out. Then there was no other voice. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing retracted their true essences. The map disappeared. Lu Ming, what do you think? Xian Yanqing asked. We can't believe all of these people's words. Who knows if they brought others with them? We can go to the treasure trove first, but we can't show ourselves. Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded and said, I think so too. It was about the martial emperor's treasure. Although they didn't know whether it was true or not, it was still no small matter. It was better to be as careful as possible. Let's go. It's a long journey from here to the destination, Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming nodded and called Dandan. The two of them rose into the air and flew in the direction marked on the map. After flying for half a month, they were finally close to the sea. The two of them followed the map and flew in the air, looking down. It should be that small island. Lu Ming pointed at a small island in front of them. That small island was the location marked on the map. There were 9 huge stone pillars on the small island. They looked like mountain peaks, but there was not a single blade of grass growing on them. Furthermore, the appearance of the 9 stone pillars resembled 9 swords. They were all pointing straight up. Lu Ming, look, there's someone there, Xian Yanqing whispered. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, there was a figure sitting cross-legged on one of the sword-shaped stone pillars. From afar, it looked like a middle-aged man. There's only one person. Let's find an island nearby to settle down and act according to the situation, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Xian Yanqing nodded. They had to be careful. Other than Qinfei Ryu, they didn't know the other owners of the martial emperor's treasure. They didn't know the other party's cultivation or background. If an almighty at the high level of the spirit sea realm or a strong practitioner at the spirit embryo realm came, wouldn't they be courting death if they appeared rashly and wanted to kill them? The two of them retreated and landed on a small island 10,000 miles away. They planned to cultivate while waiting for an opportunity. During the half a month on the road, they didn't fall behind too much in their cultivation. In their minds, they were constantly comprehending various martial techniques. Lu Ming, in particular, was more familiar with the use of various inscriptions and inscription formations. Moreover, the 7-colored spiritual master's spiritual fire was almost completely refined. Lu Ming had already ignited 10 green spiritual lamps. Chapter 690. However, Lu Ming was already very satisfied. Even Lu Ming himself didn't know how powerful the perfect 5th-level spirit fire and the inscription formations given to him by Dandan could be, but it was definitely stronger than his martial arts combat strength. The 7-colored Taoist's experience and knowledge of the path of inscription were integrated into Lu Ming's spirit along with the spirit fire. These were precious treasures, the 7-colored Taoist's 1,000 years of experience in the path of inscription. However, Lu Ming still needed to spend some time to fully master it if he wanted to use it for his own use. The two of them landed on the island, cultivating as they waited. 2 days later, Lu Ming secretly went to the small island to take a look, and found that there was one more person. A young man was sitting cross-legged on another stone pillar. Lu Ming didn't show up and returned to the small island. At this time, there was movement in the jade sword again. Lu Ming took it out and injected his true essence into it. A voice sounded. Everyone, I have arrived at my destination. Brother Lu is with me. When will you arrive? A rough voice sounded. It should be the burly man. I'm on my way. In a few days. Oldo's voice sounded. Me too. Lu Ming also answered in the same way. The other voices also answered in the same way. Everyone, I have arrived at the chaotic astral ocean, but it will take me another 10 days to reach my destination. I'm really sorry. The timid voice sounded. It doesn't matter if you wait a few more days, but let's set a rule. Those who come to meet us better show their jade sword. Both sides can prove their identity to avoid misunderstandings. The rough voice said. Okay, I have no objection. That's great. Voices sounded one after another. Xian Yanqing didn't say anything. One was that Xian Yanqing didn't like to talk, and the other was that they deliberately didn't expose a jade sword. It might be useful at a critical moment. Then Lu Ming put away the jade sword and continued to cultivate. He integrated the seven-colored Taoist experience very quickly. His understanding and application of the path of inscription were advancing by leaps and bounds. Of course, inscribers all leaned in different directions. Some leaned towards artifact forging, some leaned towards alchemy, some leaned towards talisman crafting, and some leaned towards array formations. The seven-colored Taoists leaned towards alchemy, followed by formations. Lu Ming's knowledge and experience in alchemy increased rapidly. Of course, his array formations also improved very quickly. On the small island, Lu Ming took a series of steps on the ground. Without a sound, the ground was covered with inscriptions. At the same time, he waved his hands continuously. In the void, inscriptions flashed and flew into the surrounding trees and big rocks. After a while he stopped. "Brat, your luck is really enviable." 5th level perfection. The experience of the seven-colored Taoist, and an abnormal inscription talent. Now you are completely a qualified true inscription refinement grandmaster. On the side, Dandan's side. It wasn't easy to get Dandan's praise. After all, Lu Ming had only been in contact with the path of inscription for a short time. His foundation was insufficient. Although the cultivation of the spiritual fire was very fast, the other things couldn't be made up for. He needed a lot of time to accumulate them. But now, Lu Ming had integrated the experience of the seven-colored Taoist and skipped this step. Experience, spiritual fire, and all other aspects could be considered to be on par. Of course, this was an opportunity that couldn't be replicated. The seven-colored Taoist had rushed into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and wanted to occupy Lu Ming's body. Other inscribers wouldn't do this and rush into someone else's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming just happened to have the flowing earth flame and the underworld god visualization. With some achievements in the path of inscription, Lu Ming put more effort into the cultivation of martial arts. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. During these days, every 2 days, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing would go to the small island to secretly observe. There were more and more people on the small island. There were already 5 people there. Even the timid woman had arrived. "Almost everyone is here. Let's go and meet up with them," Lu Ming said. Those 5 people had been living peacefully for the past few days, so there shouldn't be any problems. "Okay." Xian Yanqing nodded. The two of them headed towards the island together. Soon they were close to the island. The two of them didn't hide their whereabouts. When they arrived, the 5 people on the island naturally noticed them. "Who are you?" One of the burly men spoke with a rough voice. Lu Ming moved his hand and a sparkling jade sword appeared. The eyes of the other 5 lit up, and a jade sword appeared in each of their hands. "Sir, I've said before that you're not allowed to tell others. Why did you bring someone here?" The burly man's face turned cold. The others' faces also turned cold as they looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. "She's my wife." "Why? I can't even bring my wife?" Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing's hand and smiled. Xian Yanqing's face turned red as she gritted her teeth. This guy took advantage of her again. However, under such circumstances, she naturally couldn't deny it and let Lu Ming hold her hand. "Wife." The burly man's eyes flickered. "Since it's your wife, I think it should be fine." A timid voice sounded. The owner of this voice was a young woman. She was very beautiful and looked weak, but from her aura, she was a peak king. "Okay, since that's the case, brother, please come to the island," the burly man said. Lu Ming nodded and pulled Xian Yanqing onto the island. Step by step, they walked toward a stone pillar at the center of the island. No one noticed that every time Lu Ming took a step, there would be a faint flash of light at the spot where his feet touched the ground. Soon they were about to reach the stone pillar. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The figures of the 5 people on the stone pillar suddenly flashed and split into 5 directions, surrounding Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed slightly. "Everyone, what is the meaning of this?" Lu Ming looked around. "It's very simple. Hand over your jade sword." The burly man sneered. "So you want my jade sword? However, even if I give it to you, it won't be enough for you to share." Lu Ming said. "Haha, kid, you don't have to divide us. We're all from the same faction. Why should we divide? Oldo sneered. However, Lu Ming's heart sank. This was because this Oldo's voice was clearly different from the one he had heard in the Jade Sword. Did you notice? During this period of time, they all came and died. The delicate woman said. However, at this time, she didn't feel timid at all. Her voice was very cold. A trap. Everything was a trap. Lu Ming's mind was spinning rapidly. The others are all dead? Lu Ming's eyes flashed and said coldly. That's right, kid. Let me tell you. We already had 2 jade swords, so senior brother Zhong Mo and I put on a show. Actually, I've arrived a long time ago, but I said I didn't. I just wanted to lower your guard. The delicate woman sneered and seemed to be very proud. The senior brother Zhong Mo she was talking about was the burly man, the one with the rough voice. No wonder it was only the 2 of them who were talking and the others didn't. Once the others opened their mouths, they would be exposed. Boom. Boom. Chapter 691. Apart from the delicate woman who was a peak tier king, the others were all spiritual ocean tier elites. The strongest was the burly man, who was at the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Pung. Pung. At this moment, 7 or 8 figures suddenly flew out from the surrounding soil. What's with all the nonsense? There are still 2 jade swords left. Kill them directly and don't let the last one with the jade sword discover us. Finish this quickly and clean up the scene. One of the white-haired and white-bearded old men spoke, emitting a powerful cultivation at the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This old man had the cultivation of the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. These people were all from the same faction. Obviously, the people who came here before were all killed by them with thunderous methods. Therefore, Lu Ming didn't discover them when he came here several times. Could it be that Qinfei Ryu is also dead? Lu Ming's heart moved. It was a pity that such a genius died in the hands of these people. Wait, I can give you the jade swords, but you have to let us go. Lu Ming shouted. He pulled Xian Yanqing and moved to the side. Every time he moved, there would be a faint ray of light under his feet that sank into the ground. All right, hand over the jade swords, and I can consider sparing your lives. The burly man sneered. The others revealed mocking smiles. This kid was really naive. How could they let them go? Lu Ming's gaze swept over the surroundings. These people were all experts. Of the 7 people who appeared later, 2 were peak tier kings, and the other 5 were all spiritual ocean tier elites. The strongest was obviously the white-haired old man, who had the cultivation of the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This was definitely a person from a large faction. This force was even stronger than the entire Golden Sand Island. Lu Ming's mind raced. With a move of his hand, the jade sword appeared in his hand. Senior, I'll leave it to you. Lu Ming's true essence suddenly exploded, and the jade sword in his hand turned into a flash of lightning, shooting towards the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man subconsciously reached out to catch it. What Lu Ming wanted was this moment. Pung. Bang. Lu Ming suddenly took 2 steps on the ground. Suddenly, the ground emitted a bright light. Countless inscriptions burst out and turned into 2 swords, slashing towards the south. On the south side, there were only 2 martial artists in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Of the 4 directions, that side was the weakest. Lu Ming wanted to break out of the encirclement in the south. Damn it! Inscription formation. When did he carve the inscription formation? With a furious roar, everyone unleashed a powerful aura. But he was still a step too late. Pucci. How could the 2 Sea of Soul Realm experts have imagined that 2 mere peak kings would dare to cause trouble? Moreover, they had unknowingly inscribed an inscription array. In his haste, he tried to defend himself, but he was only able to exert 50% of his strength. It was cut in half by the 2 swords. Go. Lu Ming put his arm around Xian Yanqing's slim waist and used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps to rush towards the south. In the blink of an eye, they were already 10 miles away. Damn it! Where do you think you're going? The white-haired old man caught the jade sword and instantly let out a furious roar, pointing his finger at Lu Ming. A finger force instantly crossed the 10 miles distance and pointed at Lu Ming's heart. Fast, too fast, and the power was terrifyingly strong. The fourth layer of the spiritual ocean tier was really too strong. Sky Demon Force Field. Destroy. Xian Yanqing tried his best to use the Sky Demon Force Field, wanting to block it. At the same time, Lu Ming's bloodline completely exploded, and his figure continued to flash to the side. Puff. The powerful finger force pierced through Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming's defenses. Although Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, he was still a bit too slow. His arm was grazed by the finger force, and a large piece of flesh was torn off, almost blowing off one of Lu Ming's arms. Wang. Inscriptions flickered on Lu Ming's body, entering his and Xian Yanqing's bodies. These were inscriptions to increase speed. At the same time, inscriptions flashed on Lu Ming's body. These were inscriptions for Zhen Yuan eruption. By now, Lu Ming could instantly inscribe some of the inscriptions that Dandan had used before. Shua. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, and his speed was unbelievably fast. In an instant he was already far away. Behind him, the white-haired old man, the burly man, and the others were chasing at extreme speed. The killing intent on their bodies was so dense that it couldn't be dispersed. They had miscalculated. This time they had miscalculated. It was just 2 peak-tier kings. With their powerful battle strength, they were already cautious enough to surround 2 peak-tier kings. This was practically a sure-win situation. Not even in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that the 2 peak-tier kings would actually be able to charge out. Last time they had been careless, and a young man had risked his life to escape. Therefore this time, they had all moved out and surrounded the 2, but the 2 had still managed to escape. The main reason was that Lu Ming's inscription array was too powerful. It could actually kill 2 experts in the first layer of the spiritual sea realm instantly. They chased with all their might, but they realized that Lu Ming's figure was getting farther and farther away. The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps exploded at full power, and with the help of various inscription arrays, Lu Ming's speed was unbelievably fast. Soon Lu Ming had already disappeared from the white-haired old man and the other's vision. Damn it, damn it! The white-haired old man roared like a mad demon. The burly man and the others appeared behind the white-haired old man one by one. Their faces were extremely gloomy. Sect leader, that kid's inscription Dao is too powerful. He is definitely a true inscription master. A 6th-level true inscription master. Otherwise he wouldn't be so strong. The burly man said to the white-haired old man. Like I said, the younger you are, the more you have to go all out. The young geniuses are too strong now. We were careless before and let a kid escape. This time, these 2 young men are even more terrifying. That old man said. The young man from before is fine. He was injured by you guys and was hit by my 5 poison palm. He is definitely dead. But these 2 they escaped. It is a bit troublesome. The burly man said. Well, although they escaped, we have already gotten the jade swords. Now we are only missing the last jade sword. We have to get it quickly and open the Martial Emperor's treasure before the news is leaked. Get the treasures inside and leave here. This time, it is the opportunity for our blood poison sect to rise. There must be no accidents. The white-haired old man said in a deep voice. Sect leader, although the owner of the last jade sword hasn't said anything, I think he will be here soon. This time we will definitely get it. The burly man said. Then, everyone returned to the small island, and continued to lay out their plans and wait. Lu Ming took Xian Yanqing and flew for hundreds of thousands of miles before landing on a small island. Lu Ming, are you okay? Xian Yanqing was extremely worried and looked at Lu Ming with concern. I'm fine. That finger force was extremely poisonous. But poison is useless against me. Lu Ming smiled and controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the poison on his arm. After the poison was removed, the wound on his arm began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Half a day later, Lu Ming's arm was completely healed. Whoosh! Chapter 692. This time, it was really dangerous. If it weren't for Lu Ming's rapid progress in the path of inscription, and the fact that he could inscribe powerful inscription formations, and Lu Ming was cautious enough to secretly inscribe inscriptions when he stepped onto the island, they would be in danger this time. Even if Lu Ming risked his life to take out the Thunder Cauldron, and even if Xian Yanqing had some life-saving means, Facing a fourth-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator, the gap was too big, and they would most likely die. No matter how powerful the Thunder Cauldron was, with Lu Ming's current cultivation as a peak king, he definitely couldn't kill a fourth-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator. He might not even be able to kill a third-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator. Kenfei Ryu, what a pity. Lu Ming sighed softly. The world of martial arts was like this. No matter how talented you were, you would fall if you were careless. In the long river of history, countless geniuses had fallen, and those who could truly rise and walk to the peak were few and far between. Xiaoqing, let's go. Those people want to monopolize it, hee. How could we let them have it? Let's give them a big gift. Lu Ming sneered. You want to spread the news? Xian Yanqing said. That's right. Since they want to monopolize it, we can only muddy the waters. Only by doing so can we fish in troubled waters. Lu Ming sneered. That's exactly what I want. It's best if stronger cultivators appear and kill them. Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed with a cold light. Let's go to Wine Moon Island first. This island is bigger than Golden Sand Island. Let's spread the news there. I believe it will soon spread throughout the chaotic astral ocean. Lu Ming took out the map and looked at it. Then, the two of them rose into the air and flew towards Wind Moon Island. There's someone down there. After flying for a short while, Xian Yanqing suddenly pointed at the sea surface and said. Lu Ming looked over and indeed saw a figure floating on the sea surface. There was a golden light on his body, and the fish around didn't dare to get close. That looks like Kenfei Ryu. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The figure on the surface of the sea indeed resembled Kenfei Ryu. The two landed on the surface of the sea. Lu Ming sent out his quintessence and pulled them up. When he looked, he was slightly shocked. This person was actually Kenfei Ryu. Why is Kenfei Ryu here? Lu Ming originally thought that Kenfei Ryu had been killed by that group of people. He's still breathing. He's not dead, but he's deeply poisoned. Xian Yanqing frowned. Let's go back to that island and save people first. Lu Ming said, and the two of them returned to the small island. Kenfei Ryu's body emitted a golden light. It was probably the work of the Golden Sword Pagoda's protector. However, it did not prevent Lu Ming from saving people. He controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline and devoured all the poison in Kenfei Ryu's body. This poison was very powerful. If he had been a few days later, Kenfei Ryu would have died. Once the poison was gone, Kenfei Ryu's quintessence circulated automatically and started to heal. 2 hours later, Kenfei Ryu opened his eyes. Brother Lu, it's you. Kenfei Ryu was extremely shocked when he saw Lu Ming and the others. Brother Jian, you're heavily injured. You should heal first. Lu Ming said. No, wait a moment. Brother Lu, Miss Xie, you must not go to the martial monarch's treasury. The blood poison sects set up a trap there to seize all the jade swords. The others are all dead. Kenfei Ryu cried out anxiously. Brother Jian, it's too late. We've already been there. Lu Ming smiled faintly. What? You've been there? Then you. Kenfei Ryu was stunned. They had been there, but Lu Ming and the others were fine? I gave my jade swords to them, but we seized the opportunity and escaped. Lu Ming said. You gave your jade swords to them? Sigh, what a pity. The martial monarch's treasury is going to fall into the hands of those despicable people. Kenfei Ryu sighed, feeling somewhat unwilling. They want to monopolize the martial monarch's treasury? How can it be that easy? They won't be able to gather the last jade sword. Lu Ming smiled faintly. A jade sword appeared in Xian Yanqing's hand. Kenfei Ryu was stunned, then became overjoyed. Haha, man proposes, God disposes. So Brother Lu and Miss Xie each have 1 jade sword. I wonder what the blood poison sects people will think when they find out. Oh right, Brother Lu. What are you going to do next? Of course we're going to muddy the waters. The muddier the better. Brother Jian, are you interested in joining us? Lu Ming smiled. Of course, of course. Kenfei Ryu said excitedly. Right at this moment, the jade sword in Xian Yanqing's hand emitted a bright light. Do you want to know their reaction? You'll find out soon. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He took the jade sword in Xian Yanqing's hand and inserted his true yuan into it. Immediately a rough voice sounded. Hello friend, the 8 of us are here. Only one person is left. Friend, where are you? It was the burly man's voice. Lu Ming and the other 2 did not say anything. That's right. Friend, you're the only one left. As long as you come over, we can open the martial monarch's treasury and take out the treasures inside. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid unforeseen events will happen. The one who spoke was the timid girl's voice. Cough cough. Lu Ming coughed dryly a few times. The other side immediately became excited. The burly man said, Brother, where are you? As long as you come over, we can immediately open the martial monarch's treasury. This friend finally spoke. May I ask where are you? Are you in the chaotic astral ocean? The timid girl's voice sounded again. Everyone, how have you been? At this moment Lu Ming spoke. Then the jade sword immediately quieted down. There was no sound at all. After a long while the rough voice sounded. It's you? Yes, it's me. You guys are so forgetful. Lu Ming said with a smile. You actually have 2 jade swords? How is that possible? The rough voice was filled with disbelief. Brother, what do you want? The timid girl's voice sounded. Your blood poison sect is powerful. The few of us can't compete with you. Therefore, I plan to bring all the brothers and sisters in the chaotic astral ocean to share the martial monarch's treasury. What do you think? This idea is good, right? Lu Ming said with a smile. You want to spread the news? No, you can't do that. Damn it, you can't do that. The rough voice roared. Idiot. Lu Ming said. Then, the rough voice's heavy breathing could be heard. It was obviously angry. Little brother, let's talk nicely. I promise you that as long as you come over, we won't touch you. After we enter the martial monarch's treasury, we'll divide the keys equally. What do you think? At this moment an old voice sounded. It was the voice of the blood poison sect's leader. Not interested. Lu Ming said. Little brother, what do you want? The blood poison sect's leader asked. That's easy. I want your heads. Lu Ming sneered. Little brother, I advise you not to go too far. Otherwise, it won't do you any good. Chapter 693. Old man, has your head been bitten by a dog? You're still threatening me. I'm going to go all out. What can you do about it? Alright, let's get to work. I believe that the news of the martial emperor's treasure will soon spread throughout the Star Sea. Lu Ming smiled. No boy, don't you dare. I'll kill you. I promise. The sect leader of the blood poison sect roared. But at this moment, Lu Ming stopped injecting true qi, and his voice disappeared. I really want to see the expressions of the people of the blood poison sect. Kenfei Ryu smiled, feeling very comfortable. Their expressions will definitely be very interesting. Lu Ming said. Yes, the expressions of the people of the blood poison sect would be very interesting. Damn it, that bastard. The next time I see him, I'll skin him and pull out his tendons. The burly man roared again and again. His eyes were wide open as if they were about to spit fire. I didn't expect that guy to have 2 jade swords. Damn it. The delicate woman also gritted her teeth, and her eyes were full of resentment. The others were about the same. Their faces were livid, and the veins on their faces were throbbing. The feeling of having nowhere to vent their anger was too uncomfortable. They were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. They were so close to success, but all their efforts were in vain. The next time we meet him, he'll definitely die. The sect leader of the blood poison sect gritted his teeth. Sect leader, what should we do now? Someone asked. 9 keys. Without 1 key, we can't open the martial emperor's treasure. We can only wait. The sect leader said helplessly. A day later, Kenfei Ryu recovered from his injuries. They went to the Wind Moon Island together. The Wind Moon Island was twice as big as the Golden Sand Island. It was very prosperous and crowded. It was said that there were even experts at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm here. After the 3 entered the city, they bought a lot of paper and wrote the news of the martial emperor's treasure, and the specific address on the paper. At night, they spread the paper everywhere. As expected, the whole Wind Moon Island was shocked the next day. Lu Ming and the other 2 had spread too much paper. It was impossible to hide it even if they wanted to. Soon, the news spread all over the Wind Moon Island. Countless people were discussing this topic. In a restaurant, Lu Ming, Xianyanqing, and Qinfei Ryu were eating and drinking while listening to news from nearby. You should have heard the news about the martial emperor's treasure, right? Nearby, the voices of other tables could be heard. Of course I did. Everyone in the Wind Moon Island knows about it now. I wonder if the martial emperor's treasure is real or not. If it is real, why would someone spread the news everywhere? Could it be a prank? I don't know. An emperor's treasure, an emperor. In the entire Eastern continent, there are only a few emperors. Is there really an emperor's treasure? It's a little mysterious. No matter what, the martial dominator's treasure is too shocking. Even if there's a 1 in 10,000 chance that it's real, I still have to take a look. If it's real, even the slightest benefit from it would be endless. That's right. I'm just afraid that it's real. Hearing the voices from nearby, Lu Ming and the other two looked at each other and smiled. With such a way of spreading the news, many people would definitely doubt its authenticity. However, the martial emperor's treasure was too shocking and too tempting. Even if they suspected that it was fake, most people would not be able to resist the temptation and would go take a look. This was the effect they wanted. In the next few days, the news spread further and further. Some people had even set off. Lu Ming and the other two hid in the Wind Moon Island and cultivated with all their might. If it was really the martial emperor's treasure, there would definitely be a fierce fight after it was opened. Naturally, the stronger they were, the better. In a mountain range, Lu Ming and Xianyanqing were fighting with all their might. Now Xianyanqing had successfully merged 2 wills. Now the main thing was to help Lu Ming merge the earth force and the other 3 wills. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. After 7 days of hard cultivation, Lu Ming finally merged the earth force into the 3 wills. He had successfully merged 3 wills and 1 force. In a guest room of a restaurant, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and sat cross-legged. There was a pile of esoteric crystals in front of him. There were 22 middle-grade fire attribute esoteric crystals. Lu Ming planned to use the profound crystals to break through to the 2nd level of the state of heaven and earth. If his state could break through to the 2nd level, his battle prowess would definitely increase greatly. He picked up a piece of profound crystal and crushed it. Next to the Tree of Enlightenment, Lu Ming began to cultivate. Before long, Lu Ming crushed another piece of middle-grade fire attribute profound crystal. Just like that, Lu Ming crushed a total of 12 medium-grade fire profound crystals. Then Lu Ming stopped. Just a little bit more, but just a little bit more. I still can't break through, Lu Ming muttered. Right now, his fire intent was just a little bit away from the 2nd level, not even half a step. However, it was just a little bit, and he couldn't break through. It seems that the 2nd level concept of heaven and earth is indeed different from the 1st level concept of heaven and earth. It's not something that can be continuously improved by simply relying on profound crystals. It also needs to rely on comprehension to break through the bottleneck, and then combine it with profound crystals to continuously improve. Lu Ming pondered. It was obvious that the fire intent had reached a bottleneck. Lu Ming didn't continue to break through to the fire intent. Instead, he took out a medium-grade wind profound crystal and started to break through to the wind intent. Just like the fire intent, after refining a dozen medium-grade wind profound crystals, his wind intent also reached the peak of the 1st level. It was just a little bit away from the 2nd level, but it was still stuck. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was very difficult to break through to the 2nd level of the state of heaven and earth. No wonder there were so many Peak Kings, but so few Sea of Soul Realm experts. Taking the Tianxian region's Tianxian Branch Palace as an example, all the elders, traveling elders, and those in seclusion, there were at least 50 Peak King level experts, or even more. However, there were only 2 Sea of Soul Realm experts, Sheng Tsang and Mu Tian. Golden Sand Island had sent out more than 500 Peak Kings to fight against the sea beasts. Moreover, many of them died on the Fate Battle platform. However, how many Sea of Soul Realm experts were there? As long as one's talent wasn't bad and had enough resources, it wasn't hard to reach the Peak King level with time. Some people could reach the peak king level after cultivating for a few hundred years. However, many people would be stuck at the peak king level, unable to break through for the rest of their lives. One could imagine how difficult it was to break through to the spiritual sea realm. At this time, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It was about time for them to leave. After a while, Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and Qinfei Ryu flew toward the Martial Emperor's treasure island. A few days later, they arrived at the island. There was a sea of people, truly a sea of people. It was densely packed, and at a glance, it was all human figures. There were too many, at least a few 100,000, or even close to 1,000,000. And this was only the people who had rushed over from the chaotic astral ocean. The people from the other ocean regions hadn't arrived yet. The three of them squeezed their way through the crowd. Chapter 694. Damn, is there really a Martial Emperor's treasure? Why hasn't it been opened yet? I heard that a total of 9 keys are needed to open it. The blood poison sect has 8, and the last one is in the hands of a young man. That young man hasn't come yet. Some people speculate that the news was released by that young man. He should be here soon. Let's wait a little longer. Sounds of discussion came from all around. With great difficulty, they squeezed to the front. Countless people surrounded the island in the air. Lu Ming and the others squeezed to the front, and saw the people of the blood poison sect standing together with ashen faces. There were a dozen people around them, and each of them had an extremely powerful aura. They were all experts in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Among them, there were even experts stronger than the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Haha, everyone of the blood poison sect, how have you been? Lu Ming squeezed to the front and laughed loudly. The people of the blood poison sect looked over. Little bastard, you finally showed yourself. You're courting death. Kill that little bastard. When the people of the blood poison sect saw Lu Ming, their eyes burned with flames as they stared at Lu Ming. Their killing intent incomparably dense. Lu Ming took a few steps back and squeezed into the crowd saying, "What? You want to fight? There are so many experts here. Let's see how you'll kill them." The people of the blood poison sect roared furiously, but there was nothing they could do. There were too many people here, and they were all experts. With Lu Ming in the crowd, how could they fight? Once they fought, they would implicate others and incur the wrath of the crowd. They would be the ones to die. They could only glare at Lu Ming, wishing they could skin him alive and pull out his tendons. The Martial Emperor's treasure was originally going to fall into the hands of the blood poison sect. They were about to see the hope of the blood poison sect's rapid rise, but now? There were so many people, and a dozen of them were in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. There were even stronger experts. Now that the Martial Emperor's treasure was opened, they could at most drink a mouthful of soup. Whether they could drink this soup or not was still a problem. All of this was caused by Lu Ming. It was all caused by Lu Ming. How could they not hate him? As for the fact that they were the ones who made the first move and wanted to monopolize the martial monarch's treasure, they did not even think about it. In their opinion, that was what they should do, and the others should fulfill their wish. The others also looked at Lu Ming. Could it be that the last key was in Lu Ming's hands? Lu Ming smiled as a jade sword appeared in his hand. With a swing of his hand, the jade sword flew towards a green-robed old man. "Senior, I'll give this key to you," Lu Ming said. The green-robed old man's aura was unfathomable, even stronger than the blood poison sect's sect master. The green-robed elder stretched out his hand and caught the jade sword. A smile appeared on his face as he said, "Not bad, little guy." Then he looked at the blood poison sect and said, "Take out your keys and open the Martial Emperor's treasury together." Damn it! The blood poison sect master roared in his heart. He was extremely unwilling. But so what if he was unwilling? Today he could only obediently take out his keys and open the Martial Emperor's treasury. If they did not take out their keys, they would die. 8 jade swords appeared in the hands of the blood poison sect. Buzz. When the 9 jade swords appeared at the same time, they moved and emitted a slight tremor. Complex runes appeared on the surface of the 9 swords. What mysterious inscriptions! What a brilliant inscription formation! Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Currently his inscription Dao was quite good, so his vision was naturally different. He could see that the inscription formation on the 9 jade swords was extremely brilliant, and could even be said to be mysterious. Buzz. At this moment, the 9 sword-like stone pillars on the island began to vibrate. Inscriptions appeared on them, resonating with the 9 jade swords. Whoosh, whoosh. Following this, the 9 jade swords separated from the hands of the crowd and flew towards the 9 stone pillars. Each jade sword corresponded to a stone pillar. As the light flickered, the 9 jade swords flew into the 9 stone pillars and disappeared. At this moment, the 9 stone pillars shone brightly. 9 light pillars soared into the sky like 9 divine swords. A frightening scene appeared. The sky above the island was originally filled with people. Now, as the 9 sword lights rushed towards them, those people exploded and turned into dust. They didn't even have time to scream. Retreat! Retreat! Terrified screams rang out as countless people frantically retreated. Lu Ming and the others were not directly above the light pillars, so they had avoided the disaster. At this moment, they were also frantically retreating. It was too terrifying. At least 10,000 people had died in that attack. There were even Sea of Soul Realm experts among them. However, under the light pillars, they couldn't resist at all. Some people's eyes lit up. It seemed like it really was the Martial Emperor's treasury. Even if it wasn't, it was still no small matter. Boom. The 9 light pillars converged into one in the sky, and its power was even stronger. Rumble. At this moment, the island shook violently. Then everyone saw that the island had split into 2 halves. Moreover, the 2 halves of the island were dozens of miles apart. In the middle of the island, a whirlpool appeared. Endless seawater spun and turned into a huge whirlpool. No one knew where the center of the whirlpool led to. Rumble. The whirlpool spun and rumbled. Its power was shocking. Could it be that the Martial Emperor's treasury was under this whirlpool? Everyone hesitated. For a moment, no one dared to go down first. After a while, someone finally couldn't bear it anymore. A white-haired old man stepped out and said, "Since I don't have much time left, I might as well take the risk." This old man was a peak king. If he couldn't break through to the spiritual ocean realm, he would die of old age. The Martial Emperor's treasury was an opportunity for him. After reaching the spiritual ocean realm, one's lifespan would increase by another 1,000 years. He rushed into the whirlpool and followed it down, disappearing in the blink of an eye. No problem, no problem. Many people's eyes lit up. Go. Then, another group of people rushed down. Ah! This time, someone screamed as his body was torn apart, dying miserably in the whirlpool. However, some people rushed in. The person who died was a Martial Ancestor Realm Cultivator. Martial King Realm Cultivator, it's fine. Martial King Realm Cultivators can withstand the power of the whirlpool. That's right. Martial Ancestor Realm Ants want to get a share of the Martial Emperor's treasury. What a dream. Go. Immediately more people rushed in. They were all Martial King Realm Cultivators and above. Sure enough, they were fine. One by one, they disappeared in the center of the whirlpool. Thus more and more people flew down. After a while, the spiritual ocean realm cultivators couldn't bear it anymore and flew toward the whirlpool. The people of the blood poison sect looked coldly at Lu Ming and flew into the whirlpool, disappearing. As for the Martial Ancestor Realm cultivators, they were extremely unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. There were even some Martial Ancestor Realm cultivators who didn't believe it and rushed in, dying miserably. Chapter 695. Brother Jian, do you want to go? Lu Ming looked at Qinfei Ryu. Go, of course, the Martial Emperor's treasure. Regardless of whether it's real or not, we can't miss it. Qinfei Ryu's eyes were filled with determination. Geniuses were called geniuses not only because of their talent and perseverance, but also because they had to grasp the opportunity. If they did not dare to grasp the opportunity in front of them, they would not be called geniuses. All right, let's go together. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and Qinfei Ryu charged into the whirlpool together. As soon as they entered the whirlpool, Lu Ming felt a strong tearing force from the surrounding seawater acting on his body. However, this force was only a threat to Martial Ancestor Realm cultivators. It was nothing to them. The three of them followed the whirlpool and continued to descend. Very soon, they reached the bottom of the sea. However, they did not stop. There seemed to be a huge cave at the bottom of the sea. It was pitch black inside the cave. There was an extremely powerful suction force from inside, pulling Lu Ming and the group down. Lu Ming realized that he was insignificant under this suction force, unable to resist at all. In the next moment, he, Xian Yanqing, and the others disappeared from the cave. It was pitch black all around. There was no sound and no movement. Lu Ming only felt that his body kept on descending. He did not know where he was going to land. Could it be that the martial emperor's treasure is deep underground? Lu Ming thought to himself. After descending for an unknown period of time, Lu Ming suddenly felt the world spinning around him, as if he had taken the interzone teleportation formation. In the next moment, he realized that he was in mid-air, and his body was descending rapidly. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly circulated his true yuan. He realized that the circulation of his true yuan was much more difficult than before, as if there was a strong resistance. Even flying had become much more strenuous than before. Furthermore, the speed of flying had also become much slower. Lu Ming controlled his body and hovered in the air, carefully sizing it up. There was no moon or sun in the sky, but there seemed to be many stars high up in the sky. However, these stars were all crimson in color and emitted crimson light. This was where the light source was located. Below them was an endless land. Where is this? Is it in another large region or deep underground? Lu Ming frowned. Previously, he had felt that he was falling. Shaoqing, Qinfei Ryu, they're gone. Lu Ming muttered. With a thought, Dandan appeared on his shoulder. Before entering, Lu Ming had already stuffed Dandan into the Supreme Divine Palace. Dandan, do you know where we are? Lu Ming asked. Dandan looked around and pondered for a moment. Then it shook its head and said, I don't remember this place. It's so strange. It doesn't seem like we're on the ground. Dandan didn't know, so Lu Ming didn't ask any more questions. After looking around for a while, he landed on the ground. After landing on the ground, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This piece of land was actually a graveyard. As far as the eye could see, there were gigantic tombs everywhere, one after another, forming a vast expanse. There's someone. Lu Ming saw a figure flash in front of him. It was a peak-level king. Lu Ming moved and followed him. Slowly, he found that there were more and more people in front of him. In the end, he found that there were about 1,000 people scattered in front of him. Everyone, do any of you know where this place is? Someone asked. I don't know. Didn't they say that it was the martial emperor's treasure? Why would it be here? There are tombs everywhere. Where would the treasure be? Maybe the martial emperor's treasure is somewhere else? We need to find it ourselves. That's true. If it's really the martial emperor's treasure, how could it be so easy to get it? Everyone spoke one after another, expressing their own opinions. Little bastard. Suddenly, there was a loud roar. Lu Ming felt a cold murderous intent shrouding him. When he turned around, he saw a burly man glaring at Lu Ming with murderous intent in his eyes, as if he wanted to eat him alive. It was the burly man from the blood poison sect, Zhong Mo. This person was an expert in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He didn't expect to meet the burly man as soon as he entered this place. The burly man revealed a ferocious smile. A powerful aura spread out from his body like a vast ocean, enveloping Lu Ming. The people nearby couldn't help but move aside. An expert in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm was extremely terrifying. They were afraid of being affected. Little bastard, this is your fate. You're destined to die in my hands. Let's see how you escape today. Dong, dong. Before he finished speaking, the burly man rushed towards Lu Ming with large strides, like a wild beast trampling the earth. Lu Ming retreated rapidly. With every step, his foot would step on the ground and a light flashed. Xiao, xiao. When the burly man rushed over, lines of inscriptions appeared on the ground, forming a long spear that pierced towards the burly man. The long spear pierced through the air with terrifying power. Even a spiritual sea realm expert would be killed if careless. However, the burly man punched out, shattering the spear light. His figure didn't stop at all as he charged towards Lu Ming. Little bastard. Although your Tao of inscription is strong, how can a formation set up in a hurry do anything to me? Today I'll kill you. Bang! Bang! The burly man shouted and punched out with both fists. Two mighty fist lights blasted towards Lu Ming. Heaven and earth shook violently as if the space was about to be pierced through. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming's body, and Lu Ming's muscles tightened. Lu Ming stepped on the ground, and inscriptions appeared, forming two shields in front of him. His figure retreated rapidly. With two explosions, the two shields were shattered. The fist power didn't stop as it blasted towards Lu Ming. The third layer of the spiritual sea realm at his peak was too strong. Lu Ming couldn't fight against him at all. Even if Lu Ming's Tao of inscription was extremely powerful, he was still only at the 5th level after all. Go! Lu Ming used the 9 Dragons' heaven-stomping steps and dodged the fist lights. He planned to continue using the 9 Dragons' heaven-stomping steps and leave this place. Xiao! Xiao! Suddenly, a sharp sound broke through the air. Endless arrows shot towards them from all directions, covering the sky and the earth. Everyone was shrouded in it. Oh no, there's someone here. Many people's faces changed as they burst out their cultivation to block the arrows from all directions. Bang! Bang! Just as they bombarded the arrows and wanted to knock them away, the arrows suddenly exploded. The power was extremely terrifying. Many low-level king-level cultivators were directly killed by the explosion, and screams were endless. Around Lu Ming, there were also dozens of arrows that exploded, making him retreat a few steps. As for the burly man, it was unknown whether he was too strong or just unlucky, but there were hundreds of arrows that shot towards him. Although they didn't hurt him, they made him look quite embarrassed. Shoot! Chapter 696. What's that? Lu Ming's pupils shrank. He saw a talisman on each arrow. The talisman was less than the size of a palm, and was attached to the arrow. As soon as the arrow was shot, the talisman on the arrow would explode, releasing a huge amount of energy. The explosion of the arrow was caused by the talisman. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed rapidly. He tried his best to avoid this kind of arrow and avoid coming into contact with it. Boom! Boom! Intense explosions rang out non-stop. Following the explosions were miserable screams. Many more people were killed by the explosions. However, most of the people who were killed were below the 4th layer Martial King realm. Those above the 4th layer Martial King realm resisted the power of the explosion with their wills and powerful true chi. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, the arrows kept coming. The sky was filled with the sound of the air being pierced. Oh no! Lu Ming's countenance suddenly changed. He realized that a few arrows were terrifyingly fast. They were a few times faster than the other arrows. In an instant, they were right in front of him. His figure flashed, but there was still an arrow that he did not manage to evade. It was shot in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's vital essence erupted, forming a vital essence shield. With a bang, the arrow exploded. What a powerful arrow! Its penetrative power is amazing. Lu Ming's expression changed. Although he had shattered the arrow, it was because of his profound cultivation and abundant true chi that he was fine. However, the others were not so lucky. More cries of agony were heard. Many 4th layer Martial King realm and above warriors had their true chi shields penetrated and their bodies pierced by the arrows, dying a violent death. Even the 7th layer Martial King realm and above warriors were able to block the arrows, but it consumed a lot of true chi. Talisman again. Lu Ming found that the arrows with strong penetrative power also had a talisman on them. The talisman was blue in color, which could greatly increase the speed and penetrative power. Whoosh! Whoosh! Another wave of attacks came before the first one. Just now, the burly man's battle prowess was so strong that he was probably the focus of attention. Arrows were constantly being shot at him, so he had no time to chase after Lu Ming. Charge! Charge in one direction. Otherwise, we're all going to die. Someone shouted. Charge! Charge in one direction. Everyone joined forces and charged in the same direction. Just a moment ago, there were still over 1,000 of them. But now there were only 300 to 400 of them left. More than half of them had been killed. Hundreds of people charged in one direction and broke through the barrage of arrows. Rumble. A rumbling sound came from the ground, and a howl came from the front. It was the howl of a wolf. Smoke and dust filled the air. Giant waves appeared one after another, rushing towards them. There was a figure sitting on each of the giant wolves. These figures were dressed differently from them. There were both men and women. The women were draped in animal skins, revealing their slender legs. The men were bare-chested, with animal skins covering their lower bodies. Their skin was bronze, and they carried longbows on their backs. Kill. These people trespassed into the forbidden area. Kill them all. A muscular man roared. The giant wolves howled and stomped on the ground, charging toward Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming's group also unleashed their attacks, including sword intents and saber glows, slashing at the giant waves. Clang. Clang. Their attacks landed on the giant wolves, producing the sound of metal clashing. The giant wolves were not afraid of the attacks. They charged forward with their claws as sharp as blades. A seventh-layer Martial Emperor Realm Cultivator's protective chi was torn apart by the wolf claws. Following this, his body was also torn apart. It was not only one person who ended up like this, but many of them. Puppets, they're puppets. Lu Ming swung his spear and knocked a giant wolf flying. His eyes widened slightly. These giant wolves were not made of flesh and blood. They were puppets made of various metals. Their bodies were as tough as diamond, indestructible. Most importantly, there were too many puppets. There were at least 1,000 of them, and this was only one direction. There were more in the other directions. Lu Ming swung his spear, knocking the giant waves away. Some of the giant wolves even exploded. Kill that brat. A burly man was riding on an exceptionally huge wolf. He charged toward Lu Ming, and his huge wolf claws grabbed Lu Ming directly. Lu Ming swung his spear. With a loud bang, the giant wolf was knocked back. However, Lu Ming's body also trembled, and he took a few steps back. The giant wolf puppet was equivalent to the Sea of Spirit Realm. Kill. After being knocked back, the muscular man controlled the giant wolf puppet and charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming swung his spear and knocked the giant wolf back. He stopped fighting and rushed over. The muscular man from the blood poison sect was the most miserable. He was besieged by 3 terrifying giant wolves. One of the 3 giant wolf puppets was equivalent to the 3rd layer of the Sea of Spirit Realm, and the other 2 were equivalent to the peak of the 2nd layer. They were indestructible and suppressed the muscular man. Rumble. In the other 4 directions, the ground also rumbled violently. Wolf howls were heard as countless puppet armies charged toward them. Charge. Charge. Many martial artists charged with no regard for their own safety. They used all their trump cards. The situation was too dangerous. If they didn't charge out, they would be surrounded by the puppet armies from the other 3 directions. Only death awaited them. Trespassers will be killed without mercy. Kill. Shouts shook the sky as the attacks were like a tide. Lu Ming held his spear and charged. Along the way, he knocked back several Sea of Spirit Realm puppets. He kept charging forward. Brat die. A figure at least 2 meters tall slashed at him with a saber. The saber cut through the air and made a terrifying sonic boom. Lu Ming blocked with the infinite dragon spear. A terrifying power surged and Lu Ming's body floated back. A puppet equivalent to the 2nd layer of the Sea of Spirit Realm. Moreover, it's in human form. Lu Ming's eyes turned serious. Then he moved and charged to the right. The human-shaped puppet was metallic in color. Its eyes were extremely cold. As it stepped on the ground, a huge pit appeared on the ground. It charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped on the ground, and lines of inscriptions appeared. At the same time, he waved his hands, and lines of inscriptions disappeared into the ground. Inscription Master. The human-shaped puppet actually spoke human language, which was a bit surprising. Trap. Lu Ming waved his hands, and the inscriptions on the ground spread and turned into a huge net, covering the human-shaped puppet. The human-shaped puppet slashed with its saber, but it couldn't break the net for a while. Lu Ming rushed into the sky and flew into the distance. Let's go through the air. The others followed suit. wanting to escape through the air. But what made them despair was that the giant wolf puppets extended their wings from both sides, and could also fly into the sky to chase after them. This was a bloody battle. No one cared about the others, and each of them tried their best to charge out. Lu Ming didn't know how many giant wolf puppets he defeated before he rushed out of the graveyard and into a forest. Chapter 697. Lu Ming landed in a forest. The trees here were extremely strange. They were dark red and completely different from the trees Lu Ming had seen before. Without thinking too much, Lu Ming took out a pile of supreme-grade spirit crystals. After swallowing them, he began to recover his Zhen Yuan. Half an hour later, Lu Ming's Zhen Yuan had basically recovered. Suddenly, his expression changed as he looked at the sky. More than 20 people flew over and landed. They were all people from the chaotic astral ocean like him. These people were basically peak kings who had rushed out of the encirclement and arrived here. However, each of them had suffered different degrees of injuries. Naturally, they also saw Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming dressed like them, they let out a sigh of relief. A few of them stood guard while the others healed. Lu Ming didn't speak. He sat cross-legged not far away, but his mind was constantly thinking. What was this place? And who were those people who attacked them? Looking at their clothes, they seemed to be very ancient. They were actually wearing beast skins. In the Divine Wilderness continent, Lu Ming heard that only some tribes in extremely remote areas wore beast skins. The key was that these people could actually refine runes and make puppets. This was strange. Runes and puppets were all branches of the path of inscription. Just like inscription talismans, only true inscription masters could refine them. These humans who were dressed like primitive tribes actually had many true inscription masters. After 1 or 2 hours, the 20 people had more or less recovered. Everyone, do you know where those people came from? And what is this place? Lu Ming asked. During the battle just now, I think I heard someone call us people from the outside world. Is this place really underground? A rather elegant middle-aged man pondered and said, Underground? It can't really be underground, right? There's actually a world underground? Someone was very surprised. The others didn't say anything, but they knew in their hearts that there was most likely no mistake. When they came in, they kept going down and didn't know how far they had fallen. If it's really underground, then it's troublesome. How do we get out? Someone asked worriedly. Since we came in through the entrance of the Martial Emperor's treasure, then we'll definitely be able to leave. But first, we need to figure out the situation here. Lu Ming said. That's right, this little brother is right. The middle-aged man nodded. At this time, Lu Ming's expression changed. He looked up at the sky, and then his face changed. He said, Not good, those people are chasing after us. Let's go. Finished speaking, Lu Ming rose into the air and flew off into the distance. The others were slightly taken aback. They turned their heads and saw over 100 giant wolves spreading their wings and flying toward them at an extremely fast speed. Let's go, let's go. Their expressions changed drastically. They all rose into the air and flew forward. Lu Ming's speed was very fast. He shook off those giant wolf puppets and landed 10,000 miles away. This time, he landed in a valley. As for the scholarly middle-aged man and the others, they had long since separated from him. However, a few hours later, the giant wolf puppet actually chased after him again. What's going on? How can those people know where I am and accurately find me every time? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. He flew forward rapidly. Soon, he shook off those giant wolves and landed in a mountain forest. Lu Ming carefully looked around. Suddenly his eyes flickered. He drew in the air with his hand, and lines of inscriptions appeared and landed on an ancient tree. Lines of inscriptions appeared on the ancient tree, forming a mysterious inscription formation. Sure enough, there are formations everywhere in this mountain forest. These formations should be used for surveillance. They can detect the aura of nearby people and lock onto their position. Lu Ming nodded. He had an answer in his heart. In that case, I'll break these formations. Lu Ming waved his hands. The inscription formation on the ancient tree trembled and collapsed, disappearing. Then Lu Ming wandered around the area. Sure enough, he found many such inscription formations and broke them all. After breaking the formations in this area, Lu Ming rested in this area. Sure enough, after a long time, no one chased after him. Where should I go next? Could it be that the martial emperor's treasure is only used to deceive people, and has no other purpose? Lu Ming was very puzzled. He felt that this matter was very strange, because the entrance to the chaotic astral ocean was definitely set up by someone outside. There must be a purpose. Perhaps the real martial emperor's treasure was hidden in this underground world. I'd better find a way to understand the distribution of the underground world. It's best if I can blend in. Then I'll know what to do next. Lu Ming pondered. While Lu Ming was guessing, there was a huge ancient city more than 10,000 miles away. This ancient city was basically built with stones. The city walls were made of stones, and the buildings in the city were also made of stones. In the middle of the ancient city, there was a huge stone hall. At this moment, a group of people was discussing something. Most of them were old men wearing animal skins. At this moment, a burly man was reporting to a few old men. Someone from the outside world. Could it really be someone from the outside world? A chubby old man muttered to himself, frowning and pondering. Could it be that the ancient legend is true? If someone from the outside world comes, there must be a son of destiny who can revive the ancient ancestor, and teach the major tribes to inscribe the great Tao again. Legends don't come out of nowhere. All the great tribes have such legends. Moreover, if a tribe can find the child of heaven's will and revive the ancient ancestor, that tribe will receive the ancient ancestor's favor and be taught a supreme art. One by one, the old men expressed their opinions. This is a chance for our Sky Wolf tribe. Pass down the order. We can only capture the people from the outside world alive. If it's not necessary, we can't kill them. Our Sky Wolf tribe must capture more people from the outside world than the other tribes. One of the oldest elders spoke. Yes, elder. The burly man accepted the order and left. The son of destiny must be in the hands of our Sky Wolf tribe. The Sky Wolf tribe elder's turbid eyes emitted a bright light that was more dazzling than the stars. After resting for a while, Lu Ming continued to move. He randomly chose a direction and continued to fly. Boom. Boom. After Lu Ming flew for a few thousand miles, two fists suddenly came at him from below. The power was terrifying. Zhongemo. Lu Ming's pupils shrank. He took a few steps and used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. Heaven and earth roared as he blocked the two fists. However, Lu Ming's body was sent flying by the huge force. Puff. Lu Ming flew for 1,000 meters before stopping. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and his legs were trembling. Die. The burly man from the blood-poisoned sect followed closely behind the fists. With a roar, his killing intent surged. He threw 2 more fists at Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming with lightning speed, so that Lu Ming wouldn't have time to escape. Exploding Star Fist. Lu Ming threw out dozens of punches consecutively. Dozens of fist gleams collided in front of him. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's exploding Star Fist had already reached the 6th level. Chapter 698. The 3-colored dragon roared, its roar shaking the sky as it pounced down. However, Zhongemo was in the 3rd layer of the spiritual sea realm, and was too strong. The 2 fist rays shattered all of Lu Ming's exploding Star Fist, and the 3-colored dragon was scattered. However, it was still blocked for a moment. Just this moment was enough. Lu Ming waved his hands, and instantly, dense inscriptions appeared on his body. In an instant, Lu Ming carved 7 inscription formations on himself. Among them, there was an inscription formation for true origin explosion, an inscription formation for increasing speed, an inscription formation for increasing physical strength, an inscription formation for increasing defense. With the addition of the inscription formations, Lu Ming's battle power increased again. Kill. Below, Zhongemo didn't give up, and his murderous aura was like a tide. Little bastard. I'll see how you carve inscriptions in the air. Zhongemo sneered, and his fist ray was like a mountain, striking towards Lu Ming. Ordinary inscriptionists couldn't carve inscription formations in the air. Only those who reached the 7th level of inscriptionists and those who were true inscriptionists could carve inscription formations in the air and make use of them. This could only be done if one's mental strength was extremely powerful. Lu Ming couldn't do it now. If he carved inscriptions in the air, the inscriptions would soon dissipate. Back on the seven-colored island, the seven-colored spiritual master had carved formations in the air, and his methods were unpredictable. Boom! Lu Ming didn't bother to talk nonsense with him, and his spear smashed down. The huge spear ray was as big as a mountain, and the pressure made the space tremble. This spear was supported by 7 inscription formations by Lu Ming, and it exploded with full power. Even an elite at the peak of the first layer of the spiritual sea realm would be smashed to death by this spear. Boom! The spear ray clashed with the fist force, and a huge force exploded. Now, Lu Ming pressed the long spear, and with the force of the recoil, Lu Ming's body flew back a few thousand meters in an instant. He felt the blood in his body churning, and a trace of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. However, he couldn't care about that anymore. He executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and turned into a streak of light, flying into the distance. Damn it, don't run! Zhong Emo roared and chased after him. However, the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was extremely fast, and with the support of the formation, his speed was even faster. Soon he shook Zhong Emo off. In one breath, Lu Ming flew more than 10,000 miles and landed in a forest. Then he waved his hands and destroyed all the surveillance arrays in the forest. After Lu Ming devoured some of the spiritual crystals, he stood up and a cold light flashed in his eyes. This guy must die. With a flash of killing intent in his eyes, Lu Ming waved his hands and inscribed an inscription array on the ground. One by one the inscriptions sank into the ground. It took Lu Ming half an hour to carve the inscriptions before he stopped. Kid, you're vicious enough. You inscribed 36 killing arrays in one breath, and added an illusion array to cover it up. Even if that guy is a warrior at the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm, once he steps in here, he must die. Dandan grinned. Isn't it better this way? Lu Ming smiled. Good, of course it's good. Haha, let's go and lure that guy here. I can't wait. Dandan sneered, his eyes shining. Lu Ming flew up and went back the way he came. He didn't hide his aura at all. There were no surveillance inscriptions in the air, so he wasn't afraid of being discovered by the underground humans. After flying for a few thousand miles, a burly figure flew in front of him. It was Zhong Mo, but his clothes were messy and he looked a little embarrassed. Apparently, he met the underground humans on the way. Little bastard. As soon as he saw Lu Ming, Zhong Mo's eyes turned red and he chased after Lu Ming with murderous intent. Lu Ming pretended to be shocked and turned to run. Zhong Mo chased after him. In the process of running, Lu Ming pretended to spit out blood again. Zhong Mo sneered and said, "Little bastard, you're injured and can't run away. Rather than die in the hands of the underground people, it's better to let me kill you." Lu Ming did not utter a word. He lowered his head and ran at full speed. The two of them, one in front and one behind, traversed thousands of miles in no time, and arrived at the place where Lu Ming had set up the array previously. Lu Ming flew down and started running in the forest. Haha, you can't sustain your genuine chi. This time you're dead. Zhong Mo was delighted. He also landed and chased after Lu Ming. But after running for a while, Lu Ming suddenly stopped and turned around with a strange smile on his face. He looked at Zhong Mo. For some reason, when he saw Lu Ming's smile, Zhong Mo's heart suddenly tightened, and he felt a little scared. He couldn't help but stop. Little bastard. Why don't you run? You know you can't run away, right? Zhong Mo took a deep breath and got rid of that inexplicable feeling. He sneered at Lu Ming. Run. Why should I run? I'll stay and send you on your way. Lu Ming smiled. Shameless boasting. Zhong Mo shouted coldly. His genuine chi exploded and his body revealed a terrifying power. Bang. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly stepped forward. As Lu Ming stepped forward, bright inscriptions appeared where Zhong Mo was standing. The dense inscriptions intertwined with each other, and were dazzling and beautiful. However, Zhong Mo wasn't in the mood to appreciate this kind of beauty. His heart sank as he roared and rushed forward crazily. Swoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air was heard as a giant sword was formed. It gave off a terrifying aura as it slashed toward Zhong Mo immediately after. Gigantic swords appeared from all directions and slashed toward Zhong Mo. And this was only one formation. Then the inscriptions kept flashing. 36 inscription formations were activated one after another with shocking power. Zhong Mo's heart went cold as he roared. "Little bastard, you actually set up an inscription formation here. You're despicable." "Ha ha ha, I'm despicable. I'm an inscription master. And inscription masters use inscriptions to fight. Also, you're a martial artist in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. How dare you say I'm despicable?" Lu Ming sneered. He stepped forward and endless inscriptions appeared. All kinds of attacks burst out. Flames, storms, ice, sharp swords, battle sabers. All kinds of attacks instantly drowned Zhong Mo. In the formation, Zhong Mo roared again and again, but after a while his roars disappeared and only the sound of inscriptions was left. After a while, it quieted down and the light disappeared. Zhong Mo's figure was no longer in the formation. Zhong Mo had completely disappeared from this world, leaving behind only a storage ring. Lu Ming reached out and sucked the storage ring into his hand. Then he turned around and soared into the sky, leaving this place. His face was calm. The moment Zhong Mo stepped into the formation, he knew that Zhong Mo was dead for sure. The truly terrifying part of an inscription master was that given enough time, he could set up a terrifying formation. With enough time and materials, it was even possible to kill enemies one level higher. Of course, the formation you set up must not be discovered by the enemy. The enemy had to step into the formation for it to work. Chapter 699. Formations that could be cast in an instant were what determined an inscription master's battle prowess. Now Lu Ming's instant formation could kill a martial artist in the first layer of the spiritual sea realm. So it was normal that the chain formation Lu Ming spent half an hour to set up could kill Zhong Mo in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. If he was given more time, he might even be able to lay out an even more powerful formation and slaughter even more powerful Sea of Soul realm experts. Of course, that was only if the opponent stepped into the formation. Lu Ming flew forward. During this time, he met several underground humans riding giant wolf puppets. Lu Ming used the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps to get rid of them. Every team has a puppet equivalent to the 4th layer of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming was deep in his thoughts. The 4th layer of the spiritual sea realm was much stronger than him. If he met them, he could only run. No, going down blindly like this is not a solution. I have to catch an underground human and find out what is going on in this underground world. Lu Ming pondered. Of course, he couldn't fight recklessly. He still had to rely on inscriptions. Lu Ming chose a place and started to inscribe inscriptions. This time, Lu Ming spent 3 hours to set up 81 level 5 inscription formations. There were also 3 illusion formations that covered up the traces of the inscription formation. Then he rose into the air and randomly chose a direction to fly in. Soon he saw a team of underground humans riding giant wolf puppets. "Outsider, stop right there." With a loud roar, the team charged directly at Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned and ran. Soon he arrived at the place where he set up the formation. He landed on the ground and ran forward. The underground humans also landed and chased him on giant wolves. After chasing for a while, Lu Ming suddenly stopped. Die. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. With a step, the formation was activated. Endless inscriptions intertwined and enveloped more than 100 underground humans. Damn it, this person knows inscriptions. We fell into his trap. Break out, break out. A large man riding on a giant wolf puppet at the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean realm roared repeatedly and charged to the side. But what welcomed him was endless attacks. Damn it. The burly man waved his hand, and a scroll appeared in his hand. He unfurled it, and a screen of light enveloped him. Inscription symbol scroll. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. In addition to the Great Khan, there were also some other people who took out inscription scrolls. Some were defensive, some were offensive, and there were all kinds of them. They controlled the puppets and attacked continuously. However, Lu Ming had spent 3 hours to inscribe a total of 81 formations. How could it be so easy to break through? For a moment, the rumbling continued. The underground humans could not rush out at all. These subterranean humans also practice martial arts. However, their martial arts cultivation is much lower than their inscription cultivation. It seems that their martial arts cultivation is just to support their inscription cultivation. Lu Ming observed while controlling the attacks. Among them, there were a few underground humans with high cultivation. Their hands were constantly drawing. They were actually inscribing the inscription formation to fight against Lu Ming's formation. True inscription master. Among these 100 people, Lu Ming saw at least 5 true inscription masters. There were even 2 true inscription masters of 6 apex inscription. Amazing! The subterranean humans are actually so advanced in inscription cultivation. The ratio of true inscription masters is really high. Those puppets are too hard. Let's kill the subterranean humans first. Lu Ming waved his hands and controlled the inscription formation to attack the subterranean humans on the puppets. Screams sounded continuously, and the subterranean humans were constantly killed. Friend from the outer world, we have no evil intentions. We just want to invite you to the Sky Wolf tribe for a chat. Why do you have to be so ruthless? The strongest man yelled. Lu Ming sneered. No evil intentions? There were more than 1,000 of them before. In the end, less than 200 escaped. The rest were all dead. So no evil intentions? How could Lu Ming believe it? He controlled the formation wholeheartedly. The gorgeous inscriptions shone and turned into a terrifying killing weapon. The subterranean humans were killed one by one. Of course, he controlled more attacks to kill the strongest subterranean human. The power of the 81 formations was horrifying. Soon only 2 of the 100 subterranean humans were left. The rest were all dead, including the strongest man. Even some of the lower-level puppets were shattered. Only 5 Sea of Soul Realm puppets were left behind. Lu Ming controlled the array and calmed it down. His gaze was cold as he looked at the 2 survivors. The 2 were pale, and their eyes were filled with endless fear. Of course, these 2 were left by Lu Ming on purpose. What should I ask next? What should you answer? Otherwise die. Lu Ming looked at the 2. Don't even think about it. One of them shouted. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He waved his hand, and a spear light burst out, nailing the man to the ground. Then he looked at the last one and said, "What about you?" I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. Please let me go." The man shouted. This man was a middle-aged man. He was tall and thin, and he looked quite smart. "As long as I'm satisfied with your explanation, I'll let you go," Lu Ming said. He walked to the puppets that were not destroyed. He waved his hand and collected the 5 giant wolf puppets. Then he took the tall and thin man and left. While flying, Lu Ming asked the expert some questions. The lanky man naturally told Lu Ming everything he knew and answered him wholeheartedly. He was afraid that Lu Ming would kill him if he was unsatisfied. One day later, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on a green rock on a mountain peak. As for the tall and thin man, Lu Ming let him go. It didn't matter if he let him go. After all, he didn't know where he was. So this is really the underground world. And it's divided into so many tribes. Lu Ming murmured, recalling the tall and thin man's words. The underground world was divided into many human tribes. The tribe that Lu Ming encountered before was called the Sky Wolf tribe. It was just one of many tribes. The humans here only knew some superficial martial arts cultivation methods thousands of years ago. But thousands of years ago, the ancient ancestors of the underground humans descended and passed down the path of inscription. The combat strength of the underground humans increased greatly. But after the ancient ancestors passed down some inscription methods, they fell into a deep sleep on the sacred mountain. This deep sleep lasted for thousands of years. After the ancient ancestors fell into a deep sleep, the various tribes went to war. The underground world fell into chaos. Just like that, thousands of years passed. But in the underground world, there was a legend among the tribes. That was one day, people from the outer world would descend. And among the people from the outer world, there would be a destined person who could awaken the ancient ancestors. The tribe that could obtain the destined person would receive a great reward after awakening the ancient ancestors. So they went everywhere to capture Lu Ming and the others. So that was the case. Lu Ming's mind became clear. Ancient ancestors? Sacred mountain? Destined person? What's going on with these? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. Chapter 700. Lu Ming took out the map and looked at it. The underground world had a vast territory and was divided into hundreds of tribes. The Sky Wolf tribe was located in the south. The Sacred Mountain was located in the center of this land. We came here for the Martial Emperor's treasure. The entrance to the chaotic astral ocean must have been set up by someone. The ancient ancestor of this world suddenly descended thousands of years ago. Could it be that the ancient ancestor was the one who set up the entrance? Or could it be that the ancient ancestor was the Martial Emperor? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. But if it was really the Martial Emperor, why would he hide in this place and sleep for thousands of years without waking up? Lu Ming realized that the Martial Emperor's treasure was not that simple. According to the tall and thin man, every tribe was now capturing people from outside the earth, hoping to find the destined person. Then, in a month, the underground humans would have a ceremony to worship their ancestors. Every tribe would bring the people from outside the earth to the sacred mountain. Only the destined person could pass the tests and finally awaken the ancient ancestor. It seems that if I want to know the secret, I can only go to the sacred mountain. But Lu Ming looked at the map and frowned. There were dozens of tribes between the sacred mountain and the Sky Wolf tribe. If he rushed there and avoided the pursuit of every tribe, he didn't know when he could reach the sacred mountain. Also, where was Xian Yanqing now? How was he? Lu Ming was very worried. Let's go to the sacred mountain first. Lu Ming put away the map and waved his hand. A giant wolf puppet appeared on the mountain peak. This was the giant wave puppet that was equivalent to the fourth layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Dandan, how do I use this puppet? Lu Ming asked. Although puppets were also a branch of the inscription path, Lu Ming hadn't come into contact with them yet. It's simple. Puppets are actually very similar to spirit weapons. They can be called a different kind of spirit weapon, but there are still differences. To control puppets, it's very simple. You just erase the imprint of its previous owner in the puppet, then inject your spirit fire into it to control the inscriptions in the puppet. Dandan answered. Oh. Lu Ming placed his palm on the giant wolf puppet's head. A wisp of green spiritual flame seeped into the giant wolf puppet's head. Lu Ming discovered that inside the puppet, there were dense inscriptions. These inscriptions intertwined with each other and were incomparably mysterious. Lu Ming sighed. The path of puppetry was also incomparably wondrous. He had even heard that there were powerful puppeteers who could refine puppets with their own consciousness. They were like humans, capable of learning and thinking. That was amazing. Lu Ming used his spiritual fire to erase the imprint of the puppet's previous owner. Then he used his own spiritual fire to spread into an inscription array in the puppet's mind. Immediately, a wonderful feeling welled up in his heart. He felt that he could control the puppet at will. With a thought, the puppet roared deeply as a pair of wings spread out from its sides. It soared into the air and circled around the area before returning back to the mountain peak. The rate at which the spiritual fire is being consumed is truly astonishing. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Controlling a puppet consumed a lot of spiritual power. Without enough spiritual power, it would be difficult to control it. The higher the puppet's level, the more terrifying the spiritual power it consumed. However, Lu Ming had lit 10 spiritual lamps at each level, and all of them had reached perfection. The thickness of his spiritual power was extremely shocking. It was even stronger and more profound than many 6th-level true inscription alchemists. It should be enough to control this puppet at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm. Lu Ming flew up and sat cross-legged on the giant wolf puppet's back. The giant wolf puppet rose up and flew into the distance in the direction of the sacred mountain. Riding a puppet only required spiritual power, and its speed was greatly increased. He flew all the way, and soon he had flown for tens of thousands of miles. From the map, he had already left the territory of the Sky Wolf tribe and entered another tribe, the Red Leopard tribe. Roar! Roar! Just as Lu Ming flew over a mountain range, roars came from all around the mountain range. Hundreds of figures flew into the sky and surrounded Lu Ming in the middle. These people were dressed very similar to the Sky Wolf tribe, wearing beast skins, but the puppets they rode were different. The puppets they rode were crimson cheetahs. They also had wings and could soar in the air. People of the Sky Wolf tribe? No, it's people from the outside world. At the front was a young man in his late 20s. He was burly and muscular, and his body emitted an explosive aura. He looked coldly at Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't notice that there was someone below. The other party should have used a formation to cover his aura. This person is actually riding a divine puppet of the Sky Wolf tribe. It seems that he must know the path of inscription. We have to be careful. Beside the young man was a red-haired old man. He's alone. What's there to be afraid of? The young man snorted. Qifeng, the elders said that we should not attack these people from the outside world if we can. We still need their help. The old man said. I really don't understand why the elders are so polite to these people from the outside world. Just take them down and force them to go to the sacred mountain. Why bother? The young man said coldly, looking very domineering. The old man smiled bitterly and didn't say much. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming and said, "Little brother, you're from the outside world, right? We don't mean any harm. We just want to ask you to return to the Red Leopard tribe with us. We need your help." Lu Ming frowned. He had heard the conversation just now, but how could he trust them? Get out of the way. I don't want to kill for no reason. Lu Ming said coldly. Kill? How arrogant. You're alone. Let's see how you're going to kill them. The young man's face darkened. Charge. Lu Ming didn't bother to talk nonsense. He controlled the giant wolf puppet and charged toward them. Roar. The giant wolf puppet roared. Its claws were like blades and tore forward. The terrifying power directly tore the cheetah puppets apart. It's a 4th level divine puppet. Elder Qihong, you go and hold it back. The rest of you besiege it. If it continues to resist, just kill it. The young man said coldly. The old man was quite helpless. He could only control the puppet to charge forward and fight with Lu Ming. The old man's cheetah puppet was also equivalent to the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. It was extremely powerful and fought with Lu Ming's giant wolf puppet. Sparks flew everywhere. The others used all kinds of arrows and inscription talismans to attack Lu Ming. Little brother, you're only a heaven-grade inscription master. Controlling a 4th level divine puppet, you won't last long. I advise you to surrender. I promise that I won't hurt you. The old man said. But Lu Ming didn't say a word. He continuously punched out with both fists. The fist light of the exploding star fist made the air rumble as it blasted forward. Some of the weaker puppets were killed by Lu Ming together with the people. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.